When it comes to growing your own food, maximizing what you can get out of the available space you have is crucial. Even more so in urban areas where usually space is very limited and comes at a premium. So what I want to talk to you about today is acid beds and acid soil, because they can be super tricky to deal with. A lot of plants will just completely die off, but there is hope. And this is my bed of hope right here, because it's giving me a huge amount of food in a very small amount of space. So let's get talking into what a guild is, and then what I'm doing in my acid bed to maximize the return I can get in limited urban spaces. So just before we get into some of the cool details over here, what is a guild? This is very important, because what we want to try and do is create guilds all over our food forests or our vegetable gardens, which are basically little mini interconnected ecosystems that we create. What you don't want over here, for instance, is a bed of blueberries. That's usually what people do, because blueberries are acid-loving plants and they thrive in very acidic soil. So people tend to just plant full blueberry beds. That is not a guild. That is a monocrop environment, which if something finds it, it'll just decimate it and multiply rapidly. What a guild is using different plants that complement each other and work in different ways to either attract beneficial insects or repel bugs, to work together to help each other. Now what I have here is a combination of herbs, edibles, ground covers, different types of berries, which if the birds come in, you're not going to lose your whole crop of strawberries to birds. There's different layers, so you might lose some, but you're not going to lose a very large portion because they get distracted. So that is in essence what a guild is. What acid soil does is acid soil kills most plants, especially when it comes to edibles. But there is hope, because there are quite a few plants that are tolerant of a wide range of soil conditions, from alkaline through to acidic. So very important in this video is, besides the blueberries, none of the plants here are acid loving plants. They can tolerate acidic soils, which means they can grow in them, and I'm going to show you that they are actually growing really well. So what we want to do is we want to work with nature. We want to try and build up the immunity of the blueberries so that we have a little ecosystem growing here that can be self-sustaining and look after itself, so I don't need to use any form of sprays or pest deterrent, which I haven't. Everything here just looks after itself. What plants do I have in my acid compost bed? So first of all, I have my herbaceous layer, which is a herb layer, mainly there as a scent deterrent for bugs. And I have thyme. I have 1, 2, 3 nice patches of thyme that have now started flowering. They look beautiful and they smell absolutely divine. What they are doing is they are keeping pests away using their scent. Interestingly enough, thyme is ironically one of those that I mentioned that does like very dry soils, but as you can see, I like to test and just see how things go. The thyme is absolutely thriving with a lot of moisture. It does get full sun, which is obviously what it needs, but it's doing perfectly fine with a lot of moisture. So once again, as I've said in a few other videos, test, test, test. See what works in your environment, what doesn't. If someone says don't plant thyme in moist conditions, take it with a pinch of salt, try it with 1 or 2 and see how it goes. You might be pleasantly surprised like I was. Then what I have is a strawberry layer. Now these strawberries are just spreading as they want to. I'm letting them just go, and they are flowering and producing pretty abundantly. Strawberries are known to tolerate quite a wide range of soils, and they have no problem in very acidic soil, as you can see, which I'm busy showing you in the pictures now. Then what we have is tomatoes. Tomatoes are also very tolerant of acidic soils. What I'm doing here is I'm growing determinate tomatoes. Determinate meaning they will only get this big. They will put on a huge flush of tomatoes in one go. So what's really nice about that is I have a constant seedling supply that I start with these little determinate tomatoes. And as soon as these two, I've got one behind me, as soon as these three are finished, I'll pull them out and start the next one. So I can have a pretty consistent supply of cherry tomatoes rather than having a 2-3 meter stalk that takes up a lot of vertical space and needs supports and all of that. And they are also producing lots of little yummy little tomatoes. Then what I have for my pollinators to bring them in is at the back I have a planting of dahlias. I planted them around the base of the guava tree, just so that when the guava starts to flower, I'm already attracting the pollinators to the base, and they just love the moisture in the soil. They are perfectly tolerant of the acidic compost. And what I also have over here is that I've just recently put in is cranberry. The cranberry is going to create a very, very nice dense ground cover, and it'll weave in between the strawberries, so those two can work really nicely together and create a beautiful ground cover that's going to keep the soil even more moist and reduce my need for mulching because of the natural ground cover that I'm creating. In addition to that, you've seen a few of my videos where I've spoken about my beloved guava tree. Guavas are also tolerant of acidic soils. You've seen how it's produced tennis ball sized guavas. So basically we have our tree, we have our shrub layer, we have our herbaceous layer, and we have our ground cover layer. So you can see how a very simple blueberry bed can turn into quite a complex ecosystem pretty quickly if you just put your mind to it and you try some combinations. I wanted to share this combination with you because I can see it is working, and it is a really yummy combination. Cranberries, blueberries, strawberries, tomatoes, and thyme. You could probably mix those all together and have a pretty interesting tasting dessert. I hope you got some value out of watching this, and if you got any questions about this little interplanting guild that I have done, please drop them in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to my journey, where I'm going to keep sharing more and more information that I learn and discover along the way. And please share this out to your fellow gardening and growing communities so we can all learn together. Until next time, happy growing.